I have loved drawing ever since I was little, but about 4 to 5 years ago, I started doing digital art, but there was a lot of things I didn't know about art, so in this video, I'm gonna tell you some tips that would have really helped me when I just started out. I'm not a professional, so some of these are just my personal preferences, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. If you're struggling with deciding how to draw something, making thumbnail sketches can be really helpful. By making multiple quick sketches that show the composition and values, you can see which one works the best and you like the most. The first idea you come up with is not always the best, so it's good making a few sketches. You can also test colors if you're struggling to choose what mood you want for the drawing. Your drawing might have beautiful colors, but having enough contrast in the values is also important. Values are how dark or light something is. By having strong contrast in the values of your drawing, it makes it look more interesting and easily readable. If you zoom out of this drawing, you can kinda see what's going on, but if we decrease the values and zoom out, it's much more harder to see. An easy way to make sure there is enough contrast is to make a new layer on top of your drawing, paint it completely white, and then switch the layer mode to color, which is gonna make the drawing look black and white. If you have enough contrast in your drawing, it should also be easily readable in black and white and without line art. You don't need a different brush for everything. I used to spend a lot of time trying to find a perfect brush for each part of the drawing, but in reality, you should be fine with just a few. It's totally fine to use a brush for something like sparkles and trees, but when you use a different brush for everything, it might not look good together and the size might not match. Using the same brushes will also make your art style more consistent. You won't get good overnight. Learning art takes a lot of time. You don't need to draw every single day, but it will definitely speed up your improvement if you draw even 10 minutes a day. Make sure you're not overworking yourself though, and take some rest days when you're not drawing. Most likely the artists that you're looking up to have been drawing for many years. Use a bigger canvas. If you use a very small canvas, it will make your drawing look very pixelated. I recommend using a canvas that is at least 2000 x 2000 pixels. Also, experimenting with the height and width of your canvas can really change the vibe of your drawing. Practice drawing things you don't like drawing. I used to make tens of doodles of just humans standing in similar poses in my sketchbooks, because I thought that was the way you learn anatomy, and I avoided drawing hands and backgrounds as much as possible. It might have helped me a little bit, but over time it would have been much more useful if I would have looked at references and tried to draw the human body in a lot of different poses and tried to understand the 3D forms of the body. If you never draw the things you don't like drawing, you will never get better at drawing those things. Also, hands and backgrounds can really make your drawing a lot more interesting, so I highly recommend trying to learn those things, even though it might be really hard too. Perspective applies to everything, not just buildings and furniture. If you're looking at someone from a different angle, some parts will be hidden, and things further to the viewer will appear smaller. Eyes don't look the same when the head is turned. I always worried a lot about the eyes looking symmetric in my art. I didn't even realize that the perspective applied to the eyes too. Also, most people don't have perfectly symmetrical eyes anyway, so it's fine if they don't look completely the same. If you're struggling to make the character look like their eyes are looking at the same direction, try covering the other eye with your hand and imagine where the eye would be. Then take your hand off and draw it where you would imagine it. If you want something in your art piece to pop, make it more vibrant and make sure it has more contrast than the rest of the piece. Also, warm colors can help drive the attention to something. For more dynamic poses, overlap and twist parts of the body. You won't like all your drawings. I a lot of the time try to make each drawing a bit better than the last one, which is good since it challenges me a bit, but it's not always realistic to think that way. Sometimes your drawing might not come out the way you want it, but that's fine. Use a mix of hard and soft edges when shading the skin. Often beginner artists might use an airbrush to shade skin and other parts, which might come out looking a bit muddy and way too soft. Instead, I recommend first placing the shadows, blending one side of them for a more realistic look. Of course, if you're doing cell shading, this doesn't apply. You don't need over 100 layers. I like to keep my layers to less than 50. If you get past that, it will get really hard to keep them organized, and if you accidentally draw a line on wrong layer, it's really hard to find what layer it is on. Flip your canvas. When you're drawing, you have been looking at your art for a long time and you get used to it, so spotting mistakes might get hard. Then it helps to flip the canvas horizontally and kind of reset your brain. It might be also good to take a break from looking at the drawing and come back to it later. Art improvement is not always a steady rise. You will experience highs and lows, but that's okay. Art block is a normal thing. If you keep trying, you will get through it over time. Everyone's art journey is different, and we all improve at a different speed. If you want to find an art style, try studying the art of artists whose style you like. Look at what you like about those art styles and try combining elements of those to your art. Don't zoom in too much. A lot of time, people are not gonna look at your art very closely or for a long time. When you zoom in a lot, you end up wasting time on the small things when you could have spent it on making sure the drawing looks good as a whole. When adding details, you should mostly focus on the focal point of the drawing. Details usually catch the eyes, so for the less important parts, you should focus on the forms and suggesting that the details are there. Lighting can make your drawing much more dynamic. I used to always do as easy lighting as possible, and I didn't really even think about where the light is coming from. Planning the light source will help you with placing the shadows. Lighting can also be a good way to guide the viewer's eyes to somewhere you want them to look at. With dynamic lighting, you can also tell a story or change the mood of your drawing drastically. Render different materials differently. Try adding more textures and think of how much certain material reflects to make your drawings more interesting. Draw the background before the character. I have already mentioned this in my previous videos, but by drawing the background first, it will help a lot with making the character fit in the environment and with matching the lighting of the background to the character. If you're struggling to keep drawing constantly, posting your art on social media can really help you since it gives you a feeling of responsibility to post there. Don't take it too seriously though, or you might stress yourself out or spend more time on social media than actually doing the art. But remember that just because you're not getting engagement, it doesn't mean your art isn't good. Use clipping masks. I like to color my sketches with light gray, so I can make another layer that I clip to the layer below, so I won't color over the sketch. Clipping masks can also be very useful when shading and adding other things that you want only to keep inside the lines. Don't delete your old art. A few years ago, I deleted pretty much all my old art and I've regretted it so much. Looking at your old art can make you feel real proud of how much you have improved. If there's no old art, there is nothing to compare to. Look for feedback. It's hard spotting mistakes in your own art, so asking someone to give you a critique might be really helpful at improving and understanding common mistakes in your art. In an ideal case, you could ask help from a professional artist, but asking from a friend, family member, random person on the internet, or comment sections will be really helpful. If you do get help from a professional, you can ask them to redline your art to directly show what you could improve upon. Make sure you're having fun. Sometimes it might be tempting to just draw what's trending or trying to get art finished quickly because social media algorithms want you to post constantly. When you rush your drawings and draw something you're not interested in all the time, you might not be as proud of your drawings as you could be. When you're not proud of your drawings, you might lose motivation for drawing and start hating doing it. That's why you should also make sure at least occasionally draw something just because you enjoy it, and if you're drawing for fun, there's no reason to rush. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new from this video, or at least enjoyed it. You can check all my social medias from below. Have a nice day or whatever time you're watching this at. Bye!